This is a Ford Super Duty, which means it's meant to be all business. But it also gets the platinum trim, so it's about as luxe as you can get. And it has the Tremor off-road package. The only thing it doesn't claim to be is fast, because, well, it's not. And you'd think, with an engine with a name like Godzilla, it would be a little fast. And you'd also think that with an engine that goes by Godzilla, it would pack more than 430 horsepower. So if you're gonna make a run to 60, better account for at least 8.5 seconds. But again, this is a heavy-duty work truck, so speed is not really a concern, but power is. You might ask yourself, why Ford doesn't just throw the 5.0 Coyote motor under the hood? It makes 460 horsepower rather than 430. And the answer is because this is a truck. An engine needs to be suited for truck duty, aka torque. And the Godzilla packs 475 pound-feet of torque, as opposed to the 420 that you would get from the 5.0 Coyote, which means that, along with the beefed-up frame that we have here, your towing is all the way up at 15,000 pounds. That's a crazy number. And what's even crazier than that, along with the beefed-up frame and the revised shocks and spring rates, you can put 4,210 pounds worth of stuff in your bed. Now, of course, you have down here your brake gain and your trailering assist and all that sort of thing, but a nice thing also with this sort of thing, 7.3 liter big naturally aspirated V8 means the engine's not super strained, and that means it could be more reliable. But this massive V8 comes with a cost, and you guessed it, fuel economy. This week we've been seeing fuel economy hardly scraping past the double digits, and that's a lot of highway, and not pulling anything. And that's also with the standard 10-speed transmission. You can opt for a 6-speed heavy-duty gearbox. If it were me speccing out this truck, I'd keep the 10 speeds, but I'd pay an extra $10,500 and get the 6.7 liter turbo diesel, which brings power to 475 rather than 430, but more importantly, brings torque to 1,050 pound-feet, and it almost doubles your fuel economy. Now, I love a big displacement naturally aspirated V8 as much as the next guy, but this being the Super Duty, the heavy duty, the work truck, something that you haul with, something that you tow with, you kind of need the diesel for it to make sense, to me at least. That 6.7 liter turbo diesel with the extra over 1,000 pound-feet of torque will boost your towing up to 23,000 pounds, and it almost doubles your fuel economy. Ultimately, I think I'd still keep the 10-speed transmission as opposed to the HD 6-speed. Again, that's dependent on what I'm towing. But to be honest, I think you really need the diesel for this to make sense to me. But with that, let's talk about what this thing is actually like behind the wheel. The big Godzilla engine makes a pretty decent sound, but the problem is the exhaust is a whole county behind you, so you can hardly hear it. It needs to be louder. And to be honest, like we said, this thing is over 6,000 pounds and it doesn't have a huge amount of power here, so it does feel a little underpowered. But even despite that, you put your foot down and the traction control light on the dash, it lights up enough to give you a seizure. And the transmission in normal driving conditions, if you're just cruising on the highway, is fine. You won't notice it changing gear. However, if you're demanding any sort of power back from this thing, you're gonna notice the shudder that you get on gear changes. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the transmission or what, but under load, if you are anywhere near 80, 90, 100% throttle, and you go over even a small bump, it seems like the rear axle is just trying to come up and eat the front of the truck. It's very strange. And then there's the ride. This is the Tremor package, which means it gets off-road spec retuned damping. They do a bunch of stuff to the stroke and the compression ratio and the spring rates to these things to make it account for the off-road articulation that you would like, but also to maintain that over 4,200 pound bed capacity, or that payload capacity. And you're reminded of it when you have nothing in the bed. You have to be towing something or have something of weight in your bed at all times. Otherwise, if you're over 4% body fat, you're gonna feel real insecure even over small road imperfections. The steering, it's pretty dead, it's numb. You sit incredibly high. You sit high enough to understand what's really going on in semi-truck cabs. However, the fact that you sit so high, you get used to after a couple hours in the saddle, and then you start to reap some of the benefits. I don't love the mirrors, but you have incredible visibility everywhere. If I want to move over to the right lane, I just look over my shoulder and I can see every other vehicle between me and Chicago. The seats are more like thrones, high enough to look down at all the peasants who aren't being massaged by their seat. And finally, there's so much space and storage in here, you could easily live in here. When you're not being shaken to death, it actually is very relaxing in here. Ultimately, day-to-day on the street with nothing in your bed and nothing on your trailer hitch is not where this thing is at its best. But here on the road, I've gotten a chance to see what some of the Platinum trim has to offer. So let's meet up with Paulo at Road America's off-road course and see what the Tremor bracket and see what the Tremor package brings for this F250. There's the double honk. There we go. The Ford F250 Super Duty Platinum Tremor. It's insane how big this thing is.
It is absolutely massive.
It's over 20 feet from nose to tail. 20 feet.
It's
over.
crazy. 60 inches wide?
Yes, it's insane. So it doesn't need the Raptor light, or the marker lights, I'm sorry,
right,
in the grille, because it's actually narrower than a Raptor.
This is an interesting paint. So it's called
antimatter blue.
Antimatter blue, yeah. And it looks black until a black car actually pulls up.
Truck pull up.
or if it's nighttime, I think the blue really kind of sticks out to me. That's when I first realized that it was actually...
It's a really cool color. It's got some dimension to it. But I think the thing that's most distinctive is the front face of these Super Duties. These F250s are crazy. I still like the running lights here. I liked them about 2 years ago when this bar went all the way down. But it still has such a distinctive face. It looks intimidating when you pull up on it, or when it's behind you anyway.
You have some tow hooks, Super Duty stamped in here.
Yeah, so I believe these tow hooks are part of the Tremor package. But yeah, the Super Duty stamped in, that's on all of them. You've got some LEDs in your bumpers for some fogs and ditch lights. And then around the side, what do we have?
Yeah,
got a little chrome gill, because you love chrome.
That says Platinum.
Ford knows that you love chrome.
So we have 35 inch, we got the Wrangler Duratrax here on some 18 inch
with
wheels.
how many lugs? 2, 4, 6, 8 lugs.
And these 35s look so small on this big of a truck. Like I had 35s on my Jeep and they look massive.
It takes a Super Duty to make 35s look small.
I honestly think this would look really good with like some 37s. Granted, it doesn't really need to be any higher than it is, but you can see you have some upgraded suspension components in there. You can see the shock says Tremor right there.
Yeah,
part of the package
cool.
that we have. It's got a 2-inch lift in the front.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, so the Tremor package gets that. And then right here along the side, you've got this running board, which is classic Ford. You get this on the Raptors, or at least you did. We haven't driven the brand new Raptor, but yeah, it's about the same.
See, this you need
very
it for.
Ford cab.
This is a truck you need a running board for.
True.
Nissan, please take notes.
But you've got your classic Ford crew cab here with the dip in the front window.
Oh, real quick before I forget, these are specifically made for trailering. They can extend out, so you can obviously see further back if you're hauling something. So.
Yeah, and it's electric too, so you don't have to get out and pull them out. You can use the button on the inside.
Yep.
Which is great. Almost 7-foot bed, 6 3/4 foot bed.
Yeah,
Huge.
You said it's a long boy.
It's over 13 feet from hub to hub, from wheel to wheel. It's crazy how big this thing is.
It is insane. If you don't tow and you get this thing,
don't.
I bet something else is small in your life, because I don't know why else you would
Let's move it on. Let's talk about how, again, we talked about this 35-inch tire. It looks very small with here.
Yes.
It needs a 37-inch, in my opinion. You've got your taillights, LEDs with your radar sensing here, and then Platinum across the back in chrome because it's a Platinum. And then what do we have? But our lovely Ford bed step.
Yep, nice little bed
Tailgate is
step.
obviously damped, and it's very slow in the winter. So pull it down. A lot of trucks come with bed steps now. This is, I think, one of the more simple and elegant solutions.
Yeah, it's quick and pretty easy.
Almost 7 feet in this bed. It's pretty nice. You've got, of course, box link tie downs, LEDs back here.
Yeah, and
over 4,000 pounds of payload. It's insane. It's cold. Shall we go inside?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We needed like some grappling gear to get all the way up here, but here we are inside the F250.
A lot of space
Platinum.
in here, obviously.
It's pretty clear that there's a Platinum trim for this because the leather is nice. It's very comfortable. We've got our seat heaters and massagers going today, and if it gets too hot for you, which it could pretty easily because it gets hot very quickly, You can turn your seat cooler on. But it's huge. Yeah, it's huge in here, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess starting with the tech, you have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's not wireless yet. I think in the 22 it is, though. This is an 8-inch screen, and it feels small in here. I think you need a bigger screen, I think.
Everything feels
You also
small
have
in
a
this massive truck.
8-inch digital cluster in the middle to kind of show some of your...
Cluster gives you so much.
Yeah, fuel economy. It's got some towing information, your off-road things.
Yeah. Yeah, no head-up display, but you get so much information from this cluster.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I know I mentioned the heated steering wheel. There is not a hard button for it. You have hard buttons for your heated seat, your cooled seat, but your heated steering wheel is within the screen, and it's kind of annoying when you're plugged into like Apple CarPlay or on Spotify, Google Maps, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to go back to Ford Sync, and then it's generally on the home screen. I think you can reconfigure, but it is a little bit annoying.
I also think the massager buttons could be like, what's one more button here? You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
I know you don't want
even
too many buttons, but...
Yeah, it's just a little omission here or there. It's not, and it doesn't end up being a huge deal, but whatever. You can get wireless. This can be a wireless hotspot, so you can definitely work from here. Although it doesn't have the new F150 style like
bench
center bin thing that opens as a desk, which I really like.
Yeah, those are cool.
You do have 10-speaker Bang & Olufsen system, which is pretty good.
You can option up to 210 volt power points, which is pretty cool. I think we have one here, and then one in the back seat as well.
Yeah, and speaking of the back seats, they're absolutely massive. Like you could sleep 2 adults back there if you really wanted to.
In terms of like space, there's basically as much space as a sedan in here. Like it's actually probably more. There's a lot of room in here.
In terms of front seat space, I don't feel like I have a huge amount of room just like for my legs, but in the back seat, you have more room in this back seat than any SUV I've been in any sedan south of like a Maybach or a Rolls Royce or something like extended wheelbase.
Yeah.
It is huge and it is comfortable back there. You get heated seats, you get full outlets, USB, USB-C, like everything.
They fold up, a lot of storage.
Only thing we don't have, sunroof.
Yeah, I do wish we had the sunroof as well.
You can option a sunroof, but it doesn't come with it. So, I don't know, I think with that, shall we hit the trail?
Let's do it. Hey guys, all right, about to start the off-road portion. I just want to give a quick shout out again to Road America for letting us use their course. We really appreciate it. It's not gonna push this thing to its breaking point, but it's gonna allow us to show you guys what this thing is capable of. We are, however, gonna skip the forest section because this thing's over 20 feet long. There's just no way it's gonna fit without us potentially damaging this thing. All right, we are about to get rolling. So I have my off-road display on here, which gives me my pitch and roll, and then also the angles at which my steering wheel's at. I'm in 4 high right now. I don't have my rear diff locker on. I'm gonna see how far I can get without needing it. But I did want to quickly just touch on what you get from an off-road perspective with the Tremor package. So you get that 2-inch lift in the front, as I mentioned when we were outside. You get the 18-inch wheels with the 35-inch tires, the Wrangler Duratrack, and then you get a shorter air dam up front. This thing can also go through 33 inches of water, which I wish we could test, but unfortunately there's just not a good area to do that here. And then you also get a rear stabilizer in the rear as well. So with that, let's see how this thing does. So we do have almost 11 inches of clearance, but because the wheelbase is so wide, the breakover angle is only 21.5 degrees. So I'm curious to see if we're gonna actually bottom out on any of these little hills. I hope not, but let's see how this first one does. Approach is 31.6, departure is 24.5. And as I go up this, I'm gonna just quickly go, you have different drive modes. I'm gonna go in deep snow and sand. Oh wait, actually I'm gonna go in off-road use only, rock crawl. Oh, that requires 4 low, so I won't go into that one right now. I'm gonna stay in 4 high. Deep snow, sand, let's see how she does. Oh, like a breeze. Nice and easy. So that was about a 10-degree pitch on the way down. Not a lot of roll on that one. Let's give the second hill a shot. So this is the hill that we bottomed out in the Pathfinder. Sorry. This is the hill that we bottomed out in the Frontier. This thing is just so big. That kind of sounded to me like we bottomed out a little bit. Okay, so well, I'm past it now, but we are about 17-degree pitch. So you can make that any further. 20 degrees. So kind of a little bit of a steep hill, but I do believe we bottomed out a little bit, or at least we just rubbed some snow on the bottom. Cleaned it off, I guess you could say. So yeah, so far I haven't had to put this into, I haven't had to lock the rear diff, and I think that these tires have something to do with it. Obviously these are more geared towards off-roading and things like that, as opposed to the tires that were on the Frontier. Oh, all right, last little hill here. This is probably the steepest one. Matt's gonna get into position with the drone. This is probably the steepest one, and we absolutely bottomed out in the Frontier here as well. So let's see how it is in this thing. It is unfortunate, the wheels are almost like 13 feet apart. So, you ready? Mm-hmm. Give it some gas here. I think we're good. Didn't bottom out. Trying to brake on the way down. About 22 degrees on the pitch. Yeah, this thing handles it like a breeze. I just put it into 4 low right now, which allowed me to get into the off-road rock crawl mode. Have to be in 4 low to access that. Automatically pops up my front-facing camera, which is nice, so you can basically see what the obstacle is that you're about to hit. And I locked my diff in the rear. I also want to see, this thing does have like a trail crawl control. I do want to try that out and see if it would be able to get me up this little hill here. So let's give it a shot. I'm at the base of the hill. I'm gonna enable the trail control. So I'm gonna try for 2 miles an hour. It's taking its time. See, this is kind of why I feel sometimes that these things are a little bit gimmicky, at least on a hill. I mean, maybe if I'm just going straight, right now I'm at about a 20% pitch, but to me, if you're doing things like this, those sorts of trail controls, trail cruise controls just don't necessarily come in handy. Maybe if you're just going straight, but I'm gonna take it off and I'm gonna try it just with myself, so in control. So gonna go back down. Washer fluid level is low because we were at such an angle. Okay. All right. Now it's my turn. Definitely scraped a little bit there, but we got over. Okay, so basically gonna test out the articulation of the vehicle, kind of see how it does on these moguls. I'm still in 4 low, got the rear locker on, front facing camera on. It's actually pretty good quality for a front facing camera. I do wish that it had kind of the trajectory of where your wheels were going, similar to the Rubicon, but this is a really good quality camera. It feels, you obviously just feel so tall on here, like, because we've been in here with a few different types of vehicles, so it's just interesting. We're at about a 11-degree roll, and then I started to slip off that one. Yeah, some of these moguls are actually kind of just hard to, it's just so slippery right now. I'm not really able to get actually kind of stuck now. Yeah, I think it's just a little bit too slippery. We can't really go up on these moguls as much as we'd like, just because it's so slippery. Sorry. Sorry, I forgot. I didn't realize.
How many times a week do you almost hit me with the car?
At least once.
At least once.
But it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you young.
So there it is then, the F250 Platinum Tremor with the Godzilla engine. Neither of us can really advise buying this truck if you're not going to use it for its intended purpose. You need to tow or haul stuff. You need to off-road. You need to camp. And with all that said, this would make a very nice overlanding rig with plenty of amenities, lots of space, and lots of comfort. However, the sheer size of this thing will be a hindrance in getting through some trails. And here's the interesting thing. The Monroney says that this tester is $73,840. But when I go on Ford's website, just to start with the 250, Platinum, and the Tremor package, I'm already finding myself at $75,600. The Tremor package itself, mind you, is $4,000. So with that, at $75,000, if you're not towing or hauling on a regular basis, you're better off with the Raptor. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.